And I saw that coming, and I said, why don't we just take a minute to breathe? Let's all put our feet on the floor and our hands in our lap, and let's close our eyes, and let's breathe in. When we breathe in, we know we're breathing in. Let's breathe out. When we breathe out, we know we're breathing out. You know, good old Thich Nhat Hanh, breathing, trying to become mindful. And, you know, just about 5 breaths like that, and the tension just went out of the room. And we get kidded a lot for being, you know, doody, 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 doody. But in a lot of ways, even the attorneys or the professionals who like to kid about that, they see the power in being a little doody, 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 because it's just a powerful thing. You can't overlook it. And after the meeting, well, everybody recognized in the meeting that was very helpful. We were able to move forward. And I think it was Bob, you know, after it, he said, wow, he said, that was very powerful. So sometimes being willing to risk can be, can achieve a great deal. If you're, you know, if you're ready for that. I think we used to believe that when you did collaborative law, everything had to be sort of just right, you know, for the case to be selected. And there was a very, very high criteria for selection. I kind of tended to think that you could do anything. Now I believe you can't do everything, but I have done some very difficult cases. I've done cases that involve family violence. I've done cases that involve mental illness, where the husband had to go into a psychiatric hospital during the pendency of the case. We had to get the psychiatrist to certify that he was ready to come back into the process, and we asked that his brother participate to be support for him and an advocate. That just seemed like a normal thing to do, the right thing to do. And that's kind of an example of how creative you can become. You really don't have any boundaries. I mean, it's good to talk it through and to make sure that, you know, the people are in favor of it. But the beauty to me of collaborative is turning the responsibility for the divorce or the resolution of the case back to the parties. I mean, it's something I do when I do guardian cases. I don't just do an investigation and go talk to the teachers and home visit and the witnesses and all that. I work with the parties and try to help them come to their own resolution of what their parenting plan should look like. I mean, if I'm able to do that in a guardian case, that's the greatest thing. I mean, that is really satisfying, because I haven't had to impose my will. I haven't had to leave it to a judge to decide. I mean, it makes you happy. It's just very satisfying because you're really helping them. Holistic law, I love, Bill always says, Bill Van Zyverden, who was the founder and the visionary and the creator of the International Alliance of International Alliance of Holistic Lawyers. He always says when people ask him that question, he turns it around on them and says, well, what do you think it is? So typically that's what I will do, and I get all kinds of answers. And so, you know, I really had to ask myself that when I became involved. And holistic to me means including everything. Every experience we've ever had in our life, every breath we've ever taken, every course we've ever taken, anything that we've learned along the path, any experience, whether it was good or bad, any relationship, whether it was positive or negative, a lot of the love that we felt, our interactions with religions or spirituality, it brings everything in and makes it available to be a part of you to use in anything that you do. So if it's in law, you bring yourself. When I became what I consider to be a holistic lawyer, I believe I became authentic. I became my authentic self, my real self. I didn't have to play a role. I was raised in the South. There weren't many female lawyers at all for the longest time. So it was a lot of having to wear a little suit and a little obligatory tie so that you met the criteria of the judges, who were all male at that time, and play the game. You couldn't be authentic. And I didn't mind doing that because my objective was to represent my clients. And if I didn't play that game, then I was going to potentially be harmful to them. So that was okay. But to really and truly become holistic and practice in that way, you allow your authentic self to be present. That is true in collaborative. And it's the whole thing about not having to play the games and that fear factor. Because the fear, again, to me is the opposite of faith. And you really need to have a lot of faith in who you are and what you are in order to feel authentic. It has a lot to do with being conscious. And I practice a lot to be conscious. I was in therapy for a long, long time to try to be more conscious. I've had a lot of life experiences that were very traumatic, and they created a wall that I could hide behind so that I wouldn't feel pain and I wouldn't be harmed, because it was too frightening and too painful to be outside that wall. But to learn that you can be conscious and be here and know what's going on at that very moment is a very heady thing. It's a very beautiful thing. And it's the type of thing that if you share it in a relationship, like my husband and I, we've been through a lot together. I mean, really difficult things. We have a special needs daughter that requires help 24/7. But we've done a lot of individual work on ourselves and together to be sure that we're there when we're there, to be conscious, to be kind, to help one another. When you live your life that way, it becomes just a part of what you do. It's your essence. It's the thing that carries you from one step to another. And I think that's all you need to really worry about. I know when I start spinning and I start to get upset about things that happened in the past or angry over some wrong that I think a person did to me, that is very detrimental to me. And if I jump too far ahead and start, wasting time thinking about the future, then I'm giving up that part of today where I could be present and enjoy it. So to me, that's my ultimate goal. And everything I do is to be present in what I'm doing. And it's very difficult, but it's so easy. And you have to just let go. Let go and let God. Or let go and let your higher power. Whatever spiritual entity you are in touch with, let them be within you and without you. And just be a part of that process. And it's just, calms you down.